Good morning. Welcome to the Center this morning. I'm Petra Weldis, Spiritual Director here, and we're delighted that you're with us. I'd love to say thank you to our men's group that did a fabulous Father's Day service last week with Michael Grundy and Jeff Fritz and all the folks. So let's give the men's group a clap. I heard it was great, and it's really lovely to have that experience. So welcome, and thinking about that radiant light, I hope that you have enjoyed the moon last night and tonight. It's at perigee, right? It's the closest it's going to be to the Earth for the last 14 months, and I guess it's once every 14 months or so it's this close. So do enjoy the radiant light, and it's reflected off the sun, just as we are constantly reflecting the light of the divine in, through, and as us. So we'd like to take a moment now to welcome any of you who are here for the first time.
I'm
Our
Petra
greeters are coming.
Senior Minister of the Center for Spiritual Living in Dallas, and we're delighted that you found us here on the web. You can find our Sunday services on our website by every Wednesday, and we love that you can look at us online and explore these spiritual teachings. Feel free to explore our archives. It goes back a number of years with lots of special topics and amazing speakers. You can also sign up for our email news, My Daily Words, and my blog, Spiritual Living with Dr. Petra. If you're looking for a spiritual community, come visit us. Or if you're just in Dallas, drop on by. We'd love to give you a hug. Welcome home.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I close my eyes and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is
Yay, thank you, Carrie, Andrew, Jonathan, and Paul. Thank you so much. All right. So we have been talking about our life purpose Living Our Lives on Purpose this month, and we're using Dan Millman's book, The 4 Purposes of Life. And today we're talking about setbacks are setups for our greater possibility, for our greater movement. And we are talking about the life path, how we are invited deeper into our own life path. And so we talked about, the first week we talked about life as Earth School, a place where we learn lessons and solve our, what should we say, some of our emotional issues, that sort of thing. And we've talked about it as career and calling, which may be the same thing, may not be the same thing. And today we're talking about the life path, that deeper calling into the greater yet to be. Now, if you've been reading the book with us, you know that when we got to this chapter, Dan Millman, he does a whole thing about the life path, and he does it based on your birth date and using some sort of numerology formula. So we just want to give us an opportunity to talk about that in Science Mind. We don't teach numerology, we don't teach astrology, we don't teach tarot card readings, we don't teach any of those things. Just like we don't teach Reiki and massage, and we don't teach what dosage of aspirin you ought to take. What we do is we teach spiritual living. And yet there's lots and lots and lots of other ways in which we can access divine intelligence, access subjective wisdom. And we don't, just like we don't say don't go to doctors, we also say don't do astrology. Don't do numerology, we just don't say that. Because each of us finds ways in which to engage in things that open us up. So you may have found it very interesting to use your birth date and discover a number that talked about your life path. That may leave you completely cold and doesn't do anything for you. And yet you may have read his 9 suggestions of what life paths we might be on, and one of them might have actually spoken to you. And whether we use some divination technique or whether we simply listen to our own intuition, the truth is we can all discover that we're on some deeper life path. And that's what we want to talk about today. What is that that's calling us? And so when we look at a life path, it's different than a career or calling. Remember, when we talk about career or calling, we're talking about our contribution to the world. Something that we want to do in the world or achieve or accomplish. And we feel called to do this. And we might be getting money for it. It might be our career, or we might not be getting money for it. It might be our avocation. So we work and so that we can follow our calling. And we can give our gift. And yet there's a deeper calling that we answer, and that is the calling to life itself. And so we are invited into a deeper experience. So if we think about your life path, this is the image that comes from the Joyous Freedom Journal. And we think about our life path is that which really invites us to soar. It invites us to become more of the greater yet to be, to actually grow into that which is the fullness of our being, not necessarily having to do with our contribution or our calling, but to evolve ourselves, to grow ourselves, to become more of this divine expression of life that we are. So when I think of our life path, I think of it as it is that which we are here to experience, that which we are here to express, that which we are here to explore, and that which we are here to expand. Because this is what our life is about. If we can get underneath or away from paying the bills and raising the children and going to work and going to school and all of those things, this is actually what we're here for. We're here to express the presence of love as us. We're here to experience the divine as us. We're here to explore what does it mean to be one with all of life. We're here to expand the whole of consciousness as our consciousness expands. And so we might think that of our life path is to evolve. Our life path is to evolve ourselves. Now, I've been teaching this fabulous class. We've been having great fun in this class called The Magic of the Soul. And it's based on this book. And this comes from our reading for today, for this past week. he says this, Patrick Harbula says this: the purpose of soul and spirit is to evolve matter. Each individual soul, that's us, each individual soul is focused on the evolution or growth of the corresponding individual person, but it is also involved in the evolution of all matter and all people. He says this, I think he explains this better than I've ever heard this ever said. As humans, we seek to become spirit. We strive toward a spiritual ideal. So we're often looking to be more spiritual, to leave some of our human foibles behind. We want to not be dragged down by them, and we want to be more of the spiritual ideal, more peace, more love, more joy. As humans, we seek to become spirit. We strive toward a spiritual ideal. As souls, we seek to become human. We strive toward the evolution that is achieved through experiencing the imperfection of life in physical reality. As the individual expression of spirit that we are, as souls, we seek to become human. We strive toward the evolution that is achieved and only achieved through experiencing the imperfection of this life. So, do you see, we often say we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but what we have a tendency to want to focus on is that we're spiritual beings. And we'd like to be more of that. And quite frankly, some of our humanness we'd like to leave behind. Right? And it would be really good if other people would leave their humanness behind too, wouldn't it? So we strive towards spirit, which is great. This is the pull towards the light, towards enlightenment, and we seek to understand peace and to be more at peace, and so we meditate towards that spiritual ideal. But we are spiritual beings having a human experience. There's actually a call of the divine to be in this world. While we may not be of it, we are actually in this world. And it is actually through the very engagement in our lives, the very engagement in the messy, sort of uncomfortable, and just the stuff of human life itself that evolves us. And by implication, evolves all of consciousness, if we're all part of the one. I grew up understanding this as the recognition that our life path is to manifest the glory of God. We are here to manifest the divine, to incarnate the divine into the human experience and evolve it, to grow and evolve into the greater yet, to be right here where we are. Not in some future time or future place, not when we're just sitting on our meditation cushion and can transcend. We don't have to pay our bills or worry about the stress of life or whatever. We can just go over here and meditate. Oh, thank God. Okay, that's good. And then we turn back into the very life in which we're living. It is through life itself that we manifest the glory of God. And so it is right there in the fulcrum of those two things, the drive for our humanness to experience spirit and for our soul to express as human. Do you see, it's right there in the fulcrum of that. That's where the magic happens. That's the place where we live and grow and evolve into all that we are here to be. I love this phrase. It seems to me so often we think it's about growing is about fixing something. I have to fix my issues from my childhood. I have to fix my tendency to be impatient. I have to fix my monkey mind. I have to whatever it is. And so there's this wonderful phrase. I have no idea who to attribute it to, and it says, "Life is not a problem to be solved. It is actually a mystery to be lived." Life isn't a problem to be solved. Your life isn't a problem to be solved. It is simply the mystery to be lived. It is the mystery of you to live it evolve it and allow it to become more of itself, for you to become more of yourself. And by doing this, we actually are manifesting, we are incarnating the life expression as it is pouring itself through us to manifest the glory of God. This is one of our primary purposes, our primary reasons for being. Now I want to share with you a little bit about how this is different than a calling, or even different than our life lessons. And I actually was not aware of this until this last couple of weeks, really working with this idea. Some of you have heard these stories, but I never actually for myself put them together. I went to the University of Washington. I moved from Philadelphia to Seattle to go to the University of Washington, and because they had this great environmental science program, and I was going to become a forest ranger, and I was going to live 6 months out of the year in that forest tower, that fire tower way out in the wilderness for 6 months out of the year, and I would never have to have anything to do with people. I heard that. A kindred soul out there. And I would study the plants and the bears and watch the stars, and I would do whatever I was supposed to do out there, in terms of watching for the fire, but mostly I'd be doing some really significant research about, hummingbirds or something, and I would just revel in the beauty of nature and be all, and then every 6 months I would come back to the world and, do that sort of thing. But then I would escape to the woods again. That was my idea. The problem is, of course, I was so lost in drugs and alcohol at the time that I didn't make it through the first year of university. So there went that. Well, good enough, not too long after that, I found the science of mind, saved my life, for which I'm truly grateful, and went on to ministerial training. I went on to have my first community in the Washington State area in Renton, just south of Seattle. Had my first community. It was great. I got a lot of support from the Seattle community. Got it started, and we were having a growing, flourishing community. I was there for, 7 or 8 years. Fabulous. The only problem was that I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, thinking that I was going to make this community grow all by myself. And, I burnt out rather spectacularly. Actually, I burnt out so spectacularly, I just about took the church down with me. It was not pretty. So, I had purchased a cabin in the woods, and I went to the woods because the woods called me. The woods were calling me. The woods have always called me. The mountains have always called me. I find such a great solace there. I find everything that I need to know about the divine. I find it out there in nature. I can see it. I can see the sermon in the stones and hear the sermon in the wind and see the presence of God in nature. And I'm so called there. And so I was so burnt out, and I was so called into the woods. And so I went to my cabin, and I lived in my cabin for 3 years. And I was going to actually live there for the rest of my life. I decided to have my son there. I decided I was going to raise him out there, 30 miles outside from the closest little tiny town of 600 people. And my life was set. The problem was that in a little town of 600 people, it's really challenging to make money. And now I had a child to raise. And so I discovered that I couldn't really put that together. It didn't really work for me, and I ended up moving back home. My parents had moved here to the Flower Mound, to the Dallas area, and I came home to have my mom help me raise my son while I figured out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. Now, let me tell you that I was furious at God. Furious. I thought I had found my calling. I thought I had found my place. I was going to go back into nature. I was going to raise my son in the place that was the closest to the divine that I'd ever experienced. And it didn't work out. And I felt so betrayed by God. I was so angry for a number of years. Fast forward, I've been here 20 years. And without that, I wouldn't be here with you. I wouldn't have had all the experiences that we've had together of growing this community. and all the community that I've built here, and all the work that I've done, and all the different places, I would have happily simply been ensconced in my little cabin in the woods. And probably that's as much as I would have done. Do you see? By the very sheer fact that that particular thing didn't work out the way that I had intended for it to work out, I wasn't able to withdraw from the very things that perhaps push me and grow me. I wasn't able to withdraw into my little quiet cocoon out there in the woods and just commune with nature, me and God. My path led me here. And I had a friend ask me one time, because she knew me really well. I met her at a ministerial gathering. I'd been here for a number of years, and I'd known her in Seattle, and she'd said, what in the world are you doing in Dallas, Texas? There are no mountains or trees in Dallas, Texas. And I'm like, oh, I know that. Yes, I do. And I heard words come out of my mouth that I had never, ever, ever thought I would ever hear myself say. I said, I am being obedient to my path. Okay, I don't do obedience. Well, can I just tell you that? Not high on my priority list. I'm being obedient to my path. While my heart's desire would have been to stay in the woods, there would have been no evolution there. Not only for me, but nor would I have contributed to the evolution of consciousness that my life, my own evolution does. When we are confronted with things, challenges, setbacks, things that don't work the way that we think they should, you see, we are right there in the place where our life path, it might be our life path that is calling us deeper. This is the way that I like to look at it. Breakdown is right before breakthrough. That very thing that we thought we had it all together, we had it all worked out, we had it all nice and neat, perfect, so that we could have our lives be set, boring, secure, the same. Where's the evolution in that? And so our soul calls us into the next greater yet to be. And there is breakdown so that we can break through into that next greater yet to be. Now, the other thing that I have discovered in my life and in observation of others, but I shall clearly own this for myself, there's a direct correlation between the resistance that I have to what I am breaking through to the size of the messiness of my breakdown. Yes? Let me say that again. There's a direct correlation between the resistance that we have to that which is seeking to break through, or we are seeking to break through to the messiness of our breakdown. See, we don't actually have to have breakdown. We could just say, oh, I really realize that this is not the place for me to evolve and grow anymore. We could actually see it. We could participate in our own evolution. We could participate by agreeing with the inner nudge that says there's more that I need to express and experience. There's an expanded life for me. And with fear and trepidation, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to allow myself to be evolved. We allow ourselves to be evolved. And by doing that, by evolving ourselves, do you see, we're contributing to the evolution of consciousness as a whole. Because we are actually all connected. We're all one mind. We're all part of the one life, the one infinite reality. And so when any part of us grows and evolves, we are, as Patrick said in the magic of the soul, we are evolving matter itself. We are evolving physicality itself. We're evolving life itself. And we're evolving consciousness itself. So one of our most fundamental purposes is to allow ourselves to participate in this evolution. And that's our life path. Our life path is that which uses our best creativity and our greatest strengths while encouraging us to move into those things that challenge us. Dan Millman calls it our greatest, deepest drives and challenges. And how many of us know, right? Our greatest strength is also our greatest weakness, and vice versa. Our greatest weakness is also our greatest strength. And so it's in that place that we find our life path. Maybe our life path is to, for me, my life path was to not withdraw. My life path was to engage in spiritual living in this arena. It would be so easy for me to withdraw and simply sit under the tree and sit by the creek. Now I do that to refresh my soul, but my life path, for me to evolve, you see, it is to do it in community. Each one of us has a life path to discover and explore that is seeking to expand us and grow us. So, this one I want to say. And the day came when the risk it took to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Right? That's when we stand. That's when we move out. That's when we allow the setback to move us forward, and we recognize that that's what's happening for us. This can happen with a midlife crisis. It can happen with the loss of a job, loss of a relationship, loss of health. It can happen just as easily. It can happen when all of a sudden a way in which we've engaged in the world all of a sudden stops working. Like we used to always feel like we were in control of everything and everything was moving and everything like we knew how to, all of a sudden that stops working. That's because that's a habit we have in how we engage in life. Or we've withdrawn, and all of a sudden it's not working anymore. People are interfaced, they're asking something from us, they want us to engage, and our method of withdrawal doesn't work anymore. Or whatever it is. It can be a doingness in the world, it can be a way in which we relate, it can be a way in which we think about things, and all of a sudden it stops working. That right there, we're at the edge of where our life path is calling us to the next place, calling us to blossom, to break out of the bud that we've been in and blossom into the next evolution of ourselves. I think of it as cracking open the shell of habit. Cracking open the shell of habit. Sometimes it feels like that too. You kind of have to pound on it a little bit to crack it open. Let it fall apart so that that next way of being can emerge. Now, Dan Millman, in his fourth purpose of life, he talks about then that we have to move to this place where we can engage and be present to our life path. Well, there's only one way to be present to our life path, and that is to be, as he calls it, present to the arising moment. Present to the arising moment. So, my life path is about engaging, not withdrawing. I'm an introvert. I have a very rich, internal, quiet life. I can spend lots of time in my own mind. I have no problem entertaining myself. so it's just being an introvert, okay? And so my life path is about engaging, which I have learned to love, and I see how much it's a wonderful experience for me. But still, I fall down. So the other day, I was laying in bed, I was getting ready to, actually I can't remember, I think I was getting ready to go somewhere, but I was having a little chill time, laying on my bed, and my cat came to see me, which was really nice. So we had a little pet, little pet moment, and, petted her, and yeah, you're so cute, and all that, and she decided to purr, and I was kind of petting her, and then I got on my phone. I was going to look at my email, look at my, make sure I was all, was all caught up, blah, 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 and the first thing she does is she looks at me. Oh, sorry, I'm petting. Petting, that's what we're doing, petting. Okay, so then I'm on my email. So the next thing she does, she nips me. Hello? Oh, right, petting. Oh, we're petting her. So, and then I'm like distracted by the email again. Finally, she gets up in disgust and walks away. I was not present to the arising moment of petting my cat. Do you see? I wasn't engaged. I wasn't engaged. So I was partially engaged with her, partially engaged with the email, partially thinking about God knows what else. To be present to the arising moment is to be fully present to whatever that has to offer us about our life path. To engage, to maybe not engage so much. Maybe, maybe you're somebody who's always in it, and you have to be present to the life, and, oh, maybe I need to step back for a moment. You see, my path isn't your path. We all have our own. But when we're present to the arising moment, the question actually is, what is my purpose right now? See, in the 4 purposes of life, in the arising moment, what is my purpose right now? My purpose right now is to pet my cat. My purpose right now is to be present with this person in front of me. My purpose right now is to do my email. My purpose right now is to brush my teeth. My purpose right now is to think about my plan for the future. My purpose right now is I'm having a moment of memory. Do you see, when we're in the arising moment, we're fully engaged in whatever the purpose is that is available to us at that moment. And it is in the arising moment when we're able to see what is, that we're available to how our life path is evolving us. As long as I was mad at God about not being able to stay at my cabin, there was no evolution. I was just stuck at being mad. But as I began to be with what is about that, oh, this is what is, I'm here now, I'm doing this, a whole new life emerged, a whole host of evolution was available to me because I was available to what is in this present moment. Do you see? It is in that moment that we're available to that which wants to evolve us and how we want to be evolved. And so Thich Nhat Hanh says this: the present moment is the only moment available to us, and it is the door to all moments. This moment, right here. So I want to share with you what Dan Millman writes about this in our book, The 4 Purposes of Life. And he starts out by saying this: we do things all the time. We do the dishes, we do the laundry, we do the shopping, we go to work or dig or type or lift or speak. But few of us practice. The key difference between doing and practicing is this: when you practice in action, you aren't merely repeating by rote, shoveling food in, going through the email, whatever it is. You aren't merely repeating by rote, but rather are striving to improve or to refine whatever you are doing. Sort of like you're practicing a sport or an art or a musical instrument. You practice and practice. I grant you, in the hands of some of our more obsessive or neurotic friends, the idea of practicing everything might take the shape of a compulsive, never-ending self-improvement program. Yes? But that isn't it at all. The practice I'm recommending creates an art of living. Your life actually becomes an art form. You practice it like you would practice playing the piano. You see? And your life is the performance of that practice. So he goes on to say this. Now, I know this is a little heretical in spiritual circles, but I would recommend that all of us tattoo this on the inside of our eyelids. I think this is just amazing. He says this: despite what you may have heard about just being, or the notion that it's not about what you do, but about who you are, I, Dan Millman, I beg to differ. I propose that in terms of our influence on and existence in the world around us, you are actually largely what you do. So changing your behavior changes your identity moment by moment. You don't have to think positive thoughts. You don't have to feel peaceful or confident or compassionate or happy or loving. You only need to behave that way as much as you can whenever you remember to do so. This is the practice. This is the practice of being a spiritually evolved being. We practice behaving in a spiritually evolved manner even though we're not very good at it yet. Right? Just like we practice the piano, or we practice the basketball shot, or we practice the art form to become better at it, so that then we can improvise on our instrument and make beautiful music because we practice. And so we don't have to think loving thoughts. We don't have to feel like thinking loving thoughts. We don't have to automatically think positive thoughts. We practice thinking positive thoughts. We don't have to feel confident when we're going into a situation that maybe is a little challenging. We practice being confident. We practice feeling confident. And do you see, this way we are practicing the art of living a spiritually evolved life. You want to have more love in your relationships? You want your relationships to express more of the spiritual evolution of love? Practice being more loving. You want to have more peace in your life? Don't wait for it. Practice being peaceful. Do you see? Moment by moment. And so the arising moment, whatever the arising moment is, oh, this person is in my face. Oh, I'm feeling lonely. Oh, I'm upset about that. Oh, I'm having a moment of joy. Oh, I have to do this thing. You see, in every arising moment, if we'll be with what is, we can ask ourselves, what am I being invited to practice? Oh, I'm being invited to practice patience. Oh, I'm being invited to practice speaking up. Oh, I'm being invited to practice not being afraid what people will think of me and do it anyway. Do you see? Every moment we're being invited to practice, and we are constantly being invited to practice those things that are specific to our own life path, because we attract exactly those things to us. And so if we can engage with it, if we can see it, and particularly our setbacks, our challenges, the breakdowns, if we can see them as invitations to practice, then we don't have this big, huge resistance about it. And then they're a whole lot messier, a whole lot less messy. Then they're a whole lot less messy. And we move through them a little bit more effortlessly. And we are grown. Oh, wow, look. I practiced it, and I was actually able to be more peaceful. Oh, wow, look, I was actually able to speak my truth, and wow, it really worked out. I was in fear and trembling, but I still spoke my truth, and look, it worked out better. Do you see, in the practice, we get the feedback, and our life path literally evolves us. And as we evolve, we are evolving consciousness as a whole. So I'm going to invite Andrew up here to the piano. I want to close with this little poem from the end of the book and a prayer. So I just invite you to go within and take a moment to breathe. When I was young, I believed that life might unfold in an orderly way, according to my hopes and expectations. But now I understand that the way winds like a river, always changing, ever onward, following God's gravity toward the great sea of being. My journeys reveal that the way itself creates the warrior, the peaceful warrior. That in the fullness of time, every path leads to peace, and every choice to wisdom. And that life has always been, and will always be, arising in mystery. So as we breathe together now, we just invite ourselves to allow life to arise in the mystery. We don't have to be able to name our life path. We don't have to even know what it is. But we can trust that we are walking on a path of evolution that was set the moment that we were born. And now it is emerging and unfolding in, through, and as us, the more that we participate in it. And that as we grow, as we evolve, as we become more of the radiant and magnificent and beautiful being of light that we are, our light shines out. And we are literally evolving the light on the planet. We are raising consciousness, lifting hearts and souls all around us, whether we know it or not. We are contributing to healing in every corner of the world. So this morning, as we come together in this prayer, let us affirm our life path. Let us declare that we have everything that we need to turn our setbacks into setups, to allow our breakdowns to become breakthroughs, that we may break through into the greater light of love and truth that we are. We know that we are lifted and supported and loved every step along the way. And that as the mystery unfolds as us, we are blessed and we become a blessing. We call it good. We simply let it be exactly what it is. And we say together, and so